Now, joining us on the program to talk about all that and more, Mr. Ted Nugent himself. How you doing tonight, Ted?
Hey, greetings to you, Cam. A ballistic celebration from the Nugent family to all my NRA members and to you at NRA News tonight.
Cannot believe we are less than 2 weeks away from the NRA annual meetings.
That's funny. I still believe. let me just share
I see what you did there, Ted.
Let me just share. I know, that first of all, thank you, Cam, for having me on NRA News all these weeks. It is a great celebration. I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope I'm increasing and raising adequate hell on NRA News for you. I hope our listenership is up when Uncle Ted comes on. I certainly get bombarded with such a tsunami of wonderful, positive, glowing blood brother Second Amendment celebration on my website, and I want to thank everybody for that. Plus, we just did something very different in the Nugent world. We typically don't go on tour, Cam, until all the buses and trucks and magazines are full.
Yeah.
And because it really takes a lot to get my machinery going, my band, my crew, the technicians, all the equipment. And when we hit the road, we stay on the road. But we just did 3 phenomenal, earth-shattering concerts, really out of the ordinary, isolated like that. We played in Waco last Thursday, actually. And then we played in Winnie, Texas at Nutty Jerry's, a historical landmark of a rock and roll venue. Actually, it's country and western, but I fixed it. And then we played at the Lone Star Racetrack up in Grand Prairie, Texas, near Dallas and Fort Worth. And all I can tell you, I've always had the greatest, most enthusiastic, passionate, good-looking audiences in the world. And no question, I have more NRA memberships per capita at a Ted Nugent event than any location in the history of humankind. But this last week, there's a vitality. There's an exuberance. There's a positive force in my audiences that represent what we see in the Tea Party, what we see in We the People resurgence in this country. And I just want to take a moment on NRA News to say thank you to everyone. I know we talk to everybody everywhere across the country on your program, but we have a lot of Texas listeners. We have a lot of Texas NRA members, and all I can tell you is there is a musical soundtrack to the Second Amendment. I have created it, and I'm looking so forward to seeing everyone at Pittsburgh in a couple weeks. Is it a couple weeks or next couple weeks?
Next Friday.
Yes, that's right. The week from this Friday. That's right. So once again, a reminder: anybody that can possibly organize their schedule to join the NRA family in Pittsburgh for the 140th annual NRA event. Please do so. Push as many buttons and manipulate your schedule as much as possible. It is an incredible event. There is not an official Ted Nugent band performance, but on Sunday when I do my speaking engagement, there's always a guitar and an amplifier, and I play the Star Spangled Banner and a few other little ditties. But it's such a gathering of what I believe to be the most important Americans there are. And that's quite a cocky statement, and I believe in it 100%. So to all the NRA members out there that have maintained their membership, that are new members, that are giving away members, that are encouraging and maybe even scolding their friends and ex-NRA members to rejoin, stay on course, my friends. There is a positive energy in this country that is a force to reckon with. And thank you, Cam, for covering the legislation regarding our freedoms and the campus carry, which is a great upgrade taking place. And I think it's important that the NRA membership and that you review why the good Arizona Governor Brewer vetoed the campus carry because of its ambiguity. We've got to make sure that we create this legislation and get these ducks in the row when we're upgrading and returning to our Second Amendment. So, and like in Indiana, the parking lot legislation that the good governor of Indiana signed. These are the kinds of issues that we thank you for bringing up, and we thank the NRA and Chris Cox and all my fellow NRA board of directors and all the ILA guys, and certainly Wayne LaPierre and everyone that works so hard for the NRA and for our Second Amendment rights. So remember, it isn't just an isolated occurrence. It's an orchestrated, we the people, hard work goes in to getting our Second Amendment back. So thanks to you, thanks to everybody out there who's putting forth that effort, and thanks to everyone who is increasing their effort. I know that the Nugent family, we are more active, more involved, more aggressive than we've ever been, making sure our elected officials and the media and our friends and families and coworkers and the people in our lives and strangers when we strike up conversations, that we are turning up the heat now more than ever with this administration, with the left as far gone as they are, with the Sarah Brady campaigns trying to disarm and force helplessness upon American citizens. Believe me, I am convinced that there's never been a more important time to make a definitive statement about the most important God-given individual right and freedom in the history of the human experience, and that is the right to keep and bear arms. We have got to turn up the heat, get more involved, sign up more NRA members, communicate with our children's teachers and the local law enforcement heroes, and make sure that we're involved with all those activities that teach the Eddie Eagle program and teach and recruit young people into the shooting sports and the truth about the Second Amendment. So once again, thank you for having me on, and I know we got one more Monday after this, but let's make sure we all put a big red circle, maybe even a crosshair, on the calendar on April, 29 and 30?
Yep, that's right.
April 29, 30, and May 1 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is a rendezvous celebrating the most important issue of human freedom in our history, and that is the right to defend ourselves, the right of individuals to keep and bear arms. So a salute to those who are involved, and a giddy up to those who need to get more involved.
Absolutely. And, I think you're right, Ted. And, you just look at the comments by Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's the new head of the Democratic National Committee, who says that allowing private firearm sales is, quote, outrageous. She says...
That's what I'm talking about. The line, it's never been more defined.
Yeah.
Everyone listening, I know you've got your guns. I know you've got your ammo. I've been shooting my M4 today and shooting my LaRue Tacticals and shooting my Glocks and my Kimbers and my Smith & Wessons, shooting my Rugers, shooting my Colts, shooting my cars. I'm shooting them all. I shoot every type of gun every week. I love my guns. Nobody loves them more than I do. I rely on them for many, many perfect purposes. But there is a force that has stated clearly they want you and me to be unarmed and helpless, and they live to accomplish that. And without an increased NRA membership and without an increased NRA activism, they will sneak their licks in every chance. And they never sleep, Cam. We blink for a minute, and they're banning a bullet, banning a primer, banning a loading machine. They're banning a strap. They're banning a bayonet lug. They're going to ban your pistol grip. They're going to ban your magazine. They're going to ban your magazine carrier. They're going to ban your flat. I'm telling you what you have. I don't care what kind of gun you have. There are maniacs in the United States of America and maniacs who hate freedom, hate guns, hate the NRA, and live to force us into unarmed helplessness. And if you aren't an activist to the maximum degree that you can be, they chuckle because when you flinch, they'll get in a new legislation. They'll eat away at the Second Amendment. So let's not flinch. Let's be cocked, locked, and ready to rock. Code RED 24/7/365. Sign up as many new NRA members as we can. Communicate with our elected officials and demand that we do not have our God-given individual rights to keep and bear arms infringed upon anymore.
There you go. All right, 1-866-NRA News, 866-672-6397 is the number to call. I want to start with a comment from our Facebook page at NRA News. Paul in Pennsylvania wonders, does Ted have the Raging Judge Magnum yet?
The 28 gauge? No, I do not.
No?
No, I don't. I don't have one of those, but I do have a couple of judges here, and I've always got it at my side because I live in Texas now, and there's only one thing I hate worse than anti-gunners, and that's rattlesnakes. They're hard to distinguish, actually. They're both venomous. They're both very slithery. Except you can actually eat the rattlesnake, so it's not totally toxic. Yes, I have judges, and I've got them filled with 410s, but I do not have their Judge Magnum yet. But I suspect it is a fine piece.
All right, Harden in Norwalk, Connecticut says, Uncle Ted, I would love to be at the annual meeting, but on May the 1st, we are bringing over 50 women who have never shot a gun before to our club. And we are hoping to sign most, if not all of them, into the NRA. So that will be our contribution, says Harding.
And now his name is Hardy?
Harding. Yeah.
Harding, I love you. Yes, recruit everybody you can, especially women. I've always said, I think if you went back 20-some years now, probably 20, well, it's got to be 22 years because when Shemaine and I first got together, and we first created this home video we call The Spirit of the Wild, and it set record pledges on PBS stations across the country. And we articulated as way back then, I'm sure I did it way earlier than that, but the most important demographic for any issue, for any policy upgrade, is going to be women's votes, women's voice, and in the Second Amendment battles, women participation. And let me make Harding, I'm sure Harding already knows that because you got 50 women coming in. Good luck, pal. God bless him and his assistants. Women are incredible shooters, and they fall in love with guns. They love guns. Be sure you wear ears and eyes. You protect your hearing and your eyeballs, and start them out with some lightweight, easy, functional, like I have always preferred, lightweight 38 special revolvers, just to get them tuned in, maybe even 22 revolvers, so they get the mechanics, and there's no recoil or loud report. But I'm sure Harding knows his stuff, and we salute him. And there's a lot of that going on out there, Cam. A lot of guys are getting their gals into the sport. There's a lot of shooting clubs across this nation that are recruiting young people and women more and more all the time. Mm-hmm. So, Harding, a salute to you.
All right. In the talkbacks here at NRA News, Bob in Virginia says, I can't make Pittsburgh. Family budget's a little tight, but I am going to make it next year. St. Louis Ribs Barbecue. Tell Uncle Ted to bring in some of the wild pigs from Texas in St. Louis next year.
I'll do one up better. You know, I'm an extremist. I'm a radical kind of guy. So not only will I bring in pigs, but how about if I ride a pig into the NRA event in St. Louis in 2012?
Oh, Lord.
That's what I'll do. I'll giddy up. I'll wear some special spurs, and I'll ride a pig on stage. How's that, Bob? Come on.
I'm going to hold you to that. Damien writing in says, Ted, I saw a YouTube clip of you on David Letterman back in the 80s. You are the man. The crowd was booing you. You held your ground, stating the truth, still put up the good fight. Keep it up, says Damien.
And I am a funny man, too. Then you know what? Thank you for that. But I've been doing this. A lot of people don't realize this, Cam. Of course, a lot of people also do realize this. But, I mean, going back into the 1960s on the little rock and roll music programs, mm-hmm. Little rock and roll interviews, my first interview with David Letterman way back in, it had been mid-'70s. The issue of guns and hunting always comes up, and you're damn right I stand my ground. In fact, I don't stand my ground. I stand up and I walk onto their ground. I insert myself into the debate, and here's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I always win.
Undefeated record.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, well, I'm yeah, because you've got the truth on your side. I'm wondering, though, Ted, like, has their argument changed over the years? When they come
no, in fact, that's a great question, Cam. And and I'm sure that we have a lot of listeners out there on NRA News right now. And I get this all the time. In fact, if you go to tednugent.com on my talkback, they're constantly putting up videos that are now making their way to YouTube mm-hmm. of interviews with me dating back 40-plus years ago. And I was a sly, cocky little bastard, but adorable throughout, by the way. I'm sure I won many adorable and precious and cute awards, but I always kept it upbeat. I never got angry. I never made it personal. I stuck to the facts, and even before I was really educated, I mean, I just had the basic utilitarian understanding of the perfection of harvesting the surplus to support and celebrate the truth about about sustained yield hunting. I couldn't have put it in those words. You understand, Cam?
Yeah.
But even when I was a teenager, I said, so what are you telling me? You're not authorizing us eating venison? And when the spring comes and they have new deer, they live where? You know, I mean, I even understood that inarguable point back then, and the inarguable point that if you're unarmed and helpless, you might find yourself unarmed and helpless, and this is not a good thing. So there was a pragmatism, and then, of course, once you study the reports and our government's own findings, or the own studies from universities who actually initiated studies against guns, but their findings were 100% in support of gun ownership. The simple statistic that what John Lott has written in his brilliant books that I hope everybody has read, John Lott's book. If you haven't read John Lott's book, particularly More Guns Equals Less Crime, and then the recent edition of More Guns Equals Less Crime, it is wall-to-wall, unending statistics that crush the anti-gunner's presumptuousness. But going all the way back to your original question, Cam, I kid you not, whether it's Bill Maher or David Letterman or some of these people that have become just mindless left-wing liberal maniacs, they have always had to resort to the fantasy-driven, universal, talking points. Yeah, but still, more guns just can't be good.
Right.
And then, of course, they cut the commercial. But believe me, I always get in the licks and the statistics, and the audiences, even in those arenas with liberal hosts, believe me when I tell you, I always carry the audience. I get more laughter, and I get more people supporting the right to self-defense than the liberal hosts do in their condemning the right to self-defense.
All right, let's go to the phones here. 1-866-NRA News, 866-672-6397. That is the number to call. Let's talk to Doug in Minnesota this evening. How you doing tonight, Doug?
Ed, you are the man.
Thank you, sir. Back at you, Doug.
I love you like a brother.
And I feel that. That's why I use the word blood brother. Thank you, sir.
I just want to let you know that I married a woman from Alaska, and she makes you and I look like Teddy Kennedy when it comes to guns.
Yeah, they really know their stuff up there. There's no question about that.
And I'm the president of a gun club up here in northern Minnesota, and last year I invited a local newspaper editor down to our gun range for an open shoot that we hold every October for folks that aren't members. And she actually came out. She did an absolute marvelous article on our gun club and what philosophies about gun ownership and gun carrying and all that types of things are.
Doug, God bless you, and God bless your wife. And I'm telling you, Cam, this is something we could do a whole show on.
Yeah.
And I have always said this. Do not wait for the gun issue to come up to respond. Initiate the gun issue. Initiate the gun dialogue. Reach out to the family interest writer. Reach out to the technical writers. Reach out to your regional newspapers and media. Invite them down to shoot. Doug, you're the man. That's exactly how you do that. And
well, Uncle Ted, I got to say, I don't like
your
your music much, but I certainly love your outlook on politics and gun rights and, well, just our Constitution and our abilities to function as citizens. I appreciate it.
Hey,
Thank you, Doug. God bless you. Cam,
God
I'm
bless
not
you
kidding.
too.
We need to talk more about that. Everyone listening right now.
Yeah.
Everyone listening to NRA. In fact, this should be. I don't know how to do it. You're the boss hog here at NRA News, but there should always be the recruitment update moment, the media update moment. Everyone listening, believe me, Doug's not a mysterious, magical guy. I'm not a mysterious, magical guy. I introduced guns to my children's school with the authorization of local law enforcement and the administration of the school. Now, that was a number of years ago. It's going to be tougher to do now, but do it anyway. Get involved. Bring up guns to the local talk show. Just talk about what a great weekend of shooting you had. Write that letter to the editor. What a great weekend of shooting and catching fish you had with your kids this weekend. What a great opening day of deer season. What a great opening day of dove season. If you have a gun club, even if you're not the president like Doug, if you just like to shoot, hell, even if you're not a gun clubber, just call the local newspaper, your regional newspaper, invite them down and go, I saw an article where you said the automatic revolver was used in a crime. Do you know there's no such thing? Well, actually, there is such thing as an automatic revolver, but it's a rarity. We'll get into that another time. Invite these writers to go shooting. And then, of course, make sure you do it right. Legal, safe backstop, eyes, ears, everything safety, safety, safety. What Doug experienced, Cam, is available to everyone. If you just break the paradigm, get out of your comfort zone, and take this recruitment and education about firearms and firearms ownership to its proper maximum activism. That's what I've done all my life. That's what Doug just articulated, and it was a win-win-win, and everybody can do it. And I believe, Cam, everybody should do it.
Amen. Amen. All right, let's take one more call here before we have to take a timeout. Brian is in Michigan tonight. How you doing, Brian?
Greetings, Brian.
Actually, Ryan, but
Ryan.
Good evening.
How you
Hello,
doing?
Ryan.
Hello. I was just wanting to comment real quickly on your mindless liberals comment who listen to Bill Maher, but I guess that doesn't apply to the mindless conservatives who listen to Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly, or who never step out of the echo chamber that is Fox News. I just find that a little bit humorous.
Well, I imagine it would be humorous if you missed the point. It wasn't about humor, actually, Ryan. What it was about is the mindlessness of those that follow the Bill Maher mantra and the liberal mantra, specifically regarding the Second Amendment, where they deny and bury their head in the sand from the statistics, not my statistics, not the NRA statistics, all statistics from every law enforcement study, from every university study, from the UN's own study that they tried to hide, where there are more citizens packing heat, Ryan, there is less crime. And to avoid that fact would be mindless. Conversely, if you study the actual tape recording and video imagery of the president, his administration, and his czars, as displayed in the Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly programs as examples, that wouldn't be mindless to nod your head and go, yep, that's Barack Obama saying that. The mindlessness of the liberals is well documented, Ryan. The support for truth and justice and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, when we follow the actual actions captured on tape by liberals, that wouldn't be mindlessness. That would be thoughtfulness. So I hope you can tell the difference.
There you go. All right, it's 25 after the hour. We're going to take a quick timeout. Lines are loaded, actually, right now. We are talking this hour with Mr. Ted Nugent. And, Ted, let's go right back to the phones here. We've got a lot of folks waiting on the line.
Well, Paul must notice by now that we're allergic to really, really bad shows that we just can't allow it in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I've been on the air here for going on 7 years here at NRA News. I think maybe one bad show.
No.
Maybe.
Even your bad show's cool.
All right, Jim is in Phoenix, Arizona this evening. How you doing tonight, Jim?
Hello, Jim.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Ted. Good evening, Cam. Just wanted to throw something in. My oldest son did a paper in high school trying to pros and cons about gun control. And he was on this paper for almost 3 weeks, and he finally just decided to heck with it because he couldn't find enough against it.
He couldn't.
Yeah, Jim, over the years, and I think we've got a bunch of these on my website at tednugent.com. We've had, it's got to go back to the 70s, where because I've always, celebrated gun fun, I've always celebrated the Second Amendment in all my music and all my media, that I have inspired kids to do a lot of school papers on the Second Amendment and on the shooting sports in all the different ways, from the freedom issue to the plinking issue and everything in between. And are you saying that your son abandoned the gun paper because he couldn't find the cons?
No, he went ahead and finished it, but
good.
He was just really disappointed because he couldn't find enough against it.
No,
and it's not that he wasn't, it's not that he wanted it to be against. Because my whole family, I'm a former Marine myself, and I have taught all of my children and my grandchildren, they all belong to the NRA, and we have all been in shooting for years.
Well, Jim, Semper Fi to you, man, and God bless your son. It's a great project, and that's another example. You know, no matter who calls about what here in NRA News, Cam, I think we would agree that there's a way to channel a promotion, a celebration, an education, a recruitment of the shooting sports, the Second Amendment, again, not just from the freedom issue, but all the way just to the fun issue, the fun plinking. So, Jim, tell your kid Uncle Ted loves him, but we've got hundreds of examples of this. But here again, I want to capitalize on this. I'm a wallpaper carpet bomb kind of guy. I don't kind of do nothing. I'm radical and extreme. I live life to the fullest every day. So I would not only recommend, as I did a minute ago, that we should all invite regional media to shoot with us and to hunt with us and to come cover this and recruit new gals and young people to the sport. But we should get all of our children to write a thesis or write a school paper or in a debate class or in a social studies class. Bring up the Second Amendment issue. Yeah. And again, even if it's just a fun article or fun paper, a fun piece that he would write about the joys of plinking with his dad on the weekend, the aim small, shoot small discipline, or you could go right into the self-defense statistics. But there's another example. The gun community, Cam, doesn't do what Jim's son does often enough, or what Doug in Minnesota does, or what Harden in Connecticut does. Can't believe I'm remembering this guy's name. I must be having some good Verner's ginger ale or something. But you realize what I'm saying? That's the wallpaper carpet bomb Nugent mantra.
Right.
Do it all. Do it all. Do it always. Do it everywhere. Do it with everyone. Promote and celebrate all things guns, Second Amendment, self-defense, the challenge and the discipline of the shooting sports. Do it all. Get everybody you know to do it all. Get the media involved. Get your kids involved at school, at work, at church. I'm not kidding. Wallpaper, carpet bomb. That's how you defeat the other side. What Jim's son ran into, he couldn't find any statistics supporting the gun grabbers because their basic mantra is, yeah, but still.
Right.
No, yeah, but still isn't a statistic.
Yeah.
So there's another example. Let's capitalize on these things. And I know people listening right now got kids. They're going to do a school paper. Do it about guns.
Absolutely. You know, I actually I had a email not too long ago from one of our listeners, Christine, who is in Toastmasters, and she actually did a Toastmasters speech on gun control.
Beautiful. Exactly. I get hired all around the country to do speaking engagements, corporations, universities, all kinds of different organizations and groups. And of course, I'm weird. At my children's baptism, I think I mentioned a caliber. I talk about guns everywhere because it is the tip of the culture war spear. And when I do these speaking engagements about a specific product or a specific endeavor, a specific corporation, a specific topic, I always weave in the basics of what makes America better, and certainly the Second Amendment is at the top of that list. So, once again, we need to initiate that dialogue, initiate the topic in every way possible. Wallpaper, carpet bomb.
All right, let's see. In the talkbacks at NRA News, Tony in Australia says, Ted, one positive thing that I've been struck by over here is that the young kids that I'm working with now are a lot more politically savvy than we ever were in our youth. They're not buying the rubbish that the left is shoveling. I think the computer and the internet teaching them, says Tony in Australia.
I think that's good news to hear from over in Australia because they've had their freedoms gagged far too many times. You just can't own the type of firearms that I know the typical Australian would like to own over there. So good. That's good information. And I think to some degree, not to the degree where we can celebrate yet, but when I speak at universities, I'll have anywhere from 1,000 to a few thousand kids in the audience. I say kids, young adults. And when I bring up these controversial points, again, most notably the Second Amendment, And I pace the stage, and I look out there because I know there's some liberal, pierced-nippled geek out there. And that doesn't mean if you have a pierced nipple, you're necessarily a geek, but it's kind of a visual. That there's some gun-hating, Ted-hating goofball out there, and I bait them. I get them to try to make a statement, and they are ammo for a ballet on their empty skulls, the likes of which you have never seen. But for the most part, it's what Tony just said in Australia. A lot of those kids, Northwest University, Wisconsin, in New York, and Pennsylvania, and Ohio, California, Arizona. I've done a lot of speaks at a lot of universities where you'd expect there to be some liberal lean. Boy, I'll tell you, some of those kids, those new Republicans, and some of those Tea Party variations on campus, those are some savvy, intelligent, historically educated men and women, and I salute them all.
Absolutely. All right, Nathan in Tickfaw, Louisiana says, Cam, Ted, I have a lot of success at getting news people to come out to our cowboy matches. Just recently we distributed 1,000 Eddie Eagle programs at 3 private schools. Good for you, Nathan. Let's take one more quick phone call here before we have to take a break. Robert is in Midlothian, Virginia. He's been hanging on patiently. How you doing, Robert?
Greetings, Robert.
Hey, guys. Hey, Cam. Thanks for having me on again, buddy.
You bet, man.
Ted, I'll tell you what. I hear you did a really good job on your boar hunt in the helicopter. I was really interested in that. That was cool.
Well, it's a fascinating point. Number one, just shooting is fascinating. Shooting pigs is fascinating. Now you add a helicopter, and it's really fascinating. Now you've add a POF upper, an M16 lower, 750 rounds a minute, piston-driven, full auto. Robert, I'm drunk on hot brass, if you're with me. It was absolutely a spectacle. And again, I must remind everyone, it had to be done. It is being done at taxpayer expense, though I got with Governor Perry, and now we're making it legal to hire it. But we saved the environment. We saved agriculture. We saved tax dollars. We saved wildlife and wildlife habitat, and we fed hundreds and hundreds of hungry Americans at soup kitchens and homeless shelters. That is so perfect, I almost have to adjust my halo. But I've got to point out, we celebrate the new hunting networks on our televisions.
Well, Ted, we are being overrun by those feral pigs. I tell you what, there has to be something done. I think we're doing it the right way.
Well, machine guns and helicopters, believe me, that's the answer.
That sounds like a blast.
And I'll tell you what, pretty soon on my website, as soon as we get this final legislation concluded, it will be legal, and you will want to hire this guy. It's like booking a hunt with an out-of-state or, a professional guide and outfitter. But this Nueces helicopters, we'll have it on tednugent.com. It will be legal real soon to hire this guy and go up and do it. And I got to tell you, you don't have to have a machine gun to have fun. A lot of guys use semi-autics and bolts and lever actions and pumps and semi-autos. And it is the time of your life, Robert. You must do it in this lifetime.
Man, I want to give you kudos on that. But the reason I'm calling, I'm a home inspector. And I'll tell you what, I've had some amazing things happen in the last few inspections that I did. People, they actually ask, they tell me, they warn me, basically, hey, I have guns in the house. Like it's some kind of bad thing. I'm like, my friend, dude, I own guns, and I shoot guns. I love target shooting. I love to hunt. It just amazes me how people kind of feel that they have to warn people about stuff like this.
Well, that's
your constitutional right. You can have guns in your house.
That's another indication of the politically incorrect consideration regarding guns. Though it's not as prominent as it might have once been, it still exists. So your response in saying that you're completely comfortable and you think it's cool and you feel better being in a home with guns, that's a good indication that these people don't have to, they're almost apologizing. I know what you mean.
Yeah, Robert.
Well, my friend Rick, I inspected his house today. I think we have a new NRA member. So
that's how that works. Good.
Hey, Robert, thanks very much for the phone call, man. It's good talking to you again. Right now, we are joined by none other than Ted Nugent, 1-866 NRA News, 866-672-6397. Ted, let's go to the phones and talk to Jim in Michigan. How you doing, Jim?
Jim.
Hey, all right. Hey, how's my favorite uncle?
I'm doing grand.
Hey, I got to preface this to tell you that I would never give HBO a dime.
Okay.
But it happened to be on a free on the dish this weekend, and I caught that. I'll call it a mockumentary called Gunfight.
Oh, that new film.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think?
This is awful. The two most disturbing parts of it were the Virginia Tech kid and then the Michael Buffoonberg part were back to back, working on the gun show loophole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Misrepresentation they walk up to a display that has a wall of what the supposed vendor says, these are all machine guns. Anybody can own a machine gun. Just buy one. And then the next part, the Buffoonberg part of it was the gun that he went in to prove a straw purchase was just a shotgun.
Well, Jim, that goes on all the time. It's good you bring that up because I think most gun owners and likely the hunters of this country are about fed up, and I think oftentimes we just sit back and take it because it's been so redundant. They just continue with this claiming that semi-autos are machine guns and that you can go to the local, florist and buy a grenade launcher.
Right.
That there are no regulations, restrictions. But remember, right there in Michigan, we have, I use the term generously, an outdoor writer named Eric Sharp, who writes for the Detroit Free Press and possibly Detroit News. And he wrote lie after lie after lie about me. He put quotes around words from me that have never come out of my mouth. He claimed that I said that Michigan hunters should not need a turkey license anymore. I've never said anything so absurd in all my life. This is out of control, not just from those the HBOs and the Bloombergs and the liberal writers, but from our own guys, Jim.
Yeah.
So we've got to raise hell. We got to make sure we let people know. And you're right. You shouldn't support the HBOs of the world with a damn red cent. It's a shame, but they run things. But we gotta keep our own in line. Convenient fools and useful idiots and just outright unprofessional, deceitful, and dishonest outdoor writers like Eric Sharp in Michigan is much worse than the anti-gun journalists and the anti-gun media. These are our own guys that just lie and intentionally misrepresent someone they don't like. And to misrepresent me when I've done so much to further hunting and the gun ownership rights of this country, it's the inbreeding and cannibalism that the left never has to deal with. They never do that to themselves. So thank you for bringing that up. But we have a much uglier curse in our own ranks, and those are the outdoor writers that, like Eric Sharp, that eat their own and lie to make themselves look good.
All right, back to the phones we go. Chris is in upstate New York. How you doing, Chris?
Hello, Chris. Greetings.
How you doing, Uncle Ted? It's an honor to speak with you.
Thanks, Chris. Happy turkey season up there.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank you for writing the Nugent Manifesto, Ted White and Blue, and I wanted to see if you have anything in the near future possibly coming out that you're going to write.
Well, thank you for that, Chris. I use the term wallpaper and carpet bomb. I'm awake 16, 18 hours a day. I make sure I use that time that God has blessed me with to the maximum ability and maximum impact. And if that means doing radio interviews and TV interviews and writing New York Times bestsellers and producing Spirit of the Wild on Outrigger Channel and celebrating these things that are politically incorrect in my music and on tour and in speaking engagement, that's how I operate. I do it all, everywhere, all the time. And yes, I'm writing a new book right now called Stranglehold and a new book right now called Ted Nugent, A Million Arrows. It's about my hunting lifestyle. A Million Arrows is particularly the mystical flight of the arrow and the discipline and the higher level of awareness that brings you a higher quality of life. And Stranglehold will be a tell-all that is going to get real ugly.
I'm looking forward to it. I thank you.
It's going to celebrate how I have defied the liberal punks in this world, particularly in the entertainment industry and in the media, where they've tried to destroy my career over and over again, and I just come back every year with the greatest tour of my life, both middle fingers on fire. Which, by the way, just recently I had both middle fingers recalibrated to rebarreled to 50 caliber, and I sighted him dead on at 1,000 yards.
Right on, right on.
Yeah, I'm always doing something. Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Chris, thanks for the phone call, man. We've only got a couple of minutes left. I want to get to William in Illinois. William, good evening.
Greetings, William.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you guys had brought up the talking to your school about guns and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter's history teacher was talking about the Civil War, and he mentioned something about black powder. I'm not a big black powder fan, but her grandfather had taught her about black powder. And he said something that wasn't correct, so she corrected him. And after that, they were almost going to suspend her because they were trying to imply that she was going to pull like a Columbine or something because she knew way too much about guns.
Seriously?
Well, that was a good opportunity for you, William, to stand up, and I suspect you did.
Oh, yes, I did. I mean, me and my wife, she doesn't really care for guns, but she knows I do. We teach the kids gun safety and all that stuff. I take the kids out to the range and all that, and when I can talk my wife into it, I take her with us. Yeah, they were going to suspend her, and they even put a little thing in her permanent record about this, and all she did was correct the teacher.
Unbelievable. I got to tell you, I would wallpaper and carpet bomb that. I would take that right to the top. I would get a local, and this is going to be really hard in Illinois because Illinois is almost like an entire state of New York
Well, no,
City.
I live in Missouri. I'm an over-the-road truck driver. I'm in Illinois right now.
Well, William, what I would have done, first of all, I would have fixed it royally. I would have put it on the teacher's record as a negative and had my daughter get a bonus. But you can still do that. I would get a local human interest writer, a family writer, a political writer, and explain this to them, that your daughter did the right thing, and that for them to try to force an onus of suspicion on your daughter for merely commenting on a subject that your teacher was teaching is a classic example of liberalism gone berserk. So maybe our caller from, I forget who it was, Tony, no, I forget who it was who called earlier. Oh, I think it was a Paul.
Yeah.
Somebody named Paul that was saying that the liberals are mindless and that somehow the conservatives are mindless when the differentiation is
yeah, Ryan. That was Ryan. Yeah.
Ryan. Could have been, yeah. But anyhow, all I can tell you is I would wallpaper and carpet bomb that, William, because your daughter sounds like she did the perfect, proper thing, and she should be saluted for that. And the teacher and the administration that's trying to find fault with it, they should be exposed and corrected.
How old is your daughter, William?
Well, at the time, she was 12. She's 15 now, so this happened about 3 years ago. She was in junior high when this happened.
She was 12 years old, and I guess 12-year-olds aren't allowed to know more than the teacher when it comes to the gun issues. Wow, that's a heck of a story, William. I appreciate the phone call tonight. No kidding. Yeah. No kidding. Hey, Ted, we've only got about 30 seconds left here, but I want to thank you again for coming on the program tonight, sir. Enjoyed it as always. And
same at you, Cam. Carry on, stay on course, and I'll see you next Monday, and then the NRA event's coming up in Pittsburgh. I hope I see everybody there.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ted Nugent joining us for NRA Nuge tonight.